So hello everybody, and thank you for being here. So we'll go back with this page to something that is the root of PyCampus, startups. And for many times, I've seen many pitch about startups, but very few that talks about the investor side. And so what we expect to see from startups that want to receive an investment. And so I'm just doing the things in a different way. So talking about the problems we have as investors, what we have to do, what we have achieved as goal, and then try to say how you can persuade an investor actually to move. If you understand his motivation, you'll probably be able to move him. So very short, and that's what I forgot. It was almost all perfect. Yeah. So the first thing, and I repeat this is a kind of disclaimer for me, and the fact that I always talk about people that has got opinion and people that has got experience. So I don't want to make the same mistake myself. I have experience in some fields, and I have opinion on others field. And when you talk to someone to ask for advice, for mentorship, you should always look at what is this guy experience and what is guy opinion. The problem of most of us, including me, we love to talk about the new stuff that we're not experiencing that. Just because it's the new stuff, is the cool, the latest stuff. So we want to talk about it. And we talk 90% of the time about this. And Andrea, this is just there. So I don't have a microphone here. And so to try to avoid this problem myself, I decided all the time to explain to the audience what I do understand and what is my experience and what I don't. So in short, what I do, I started many years ago, 1999, co-founded the company with my wife, Isabel, translated, and I basically was the coder of the company. And so I spent a lot of time doing reverse engineering of search engines to win whatever keywords you type. I wanted to be first, so doing regressions. And that's how I got into AI, because regression is one of the first problems you learn during machine learning. And then basically when we are able to attract enough traffic at Translated, we started making money. And we started applying AI to all the different areas in Translated. So the routing of projects automatically, and the translators, giving them suggestions so that they have to correct the small suggestions, and the machine will learn from the correction of the user. So I became an entrepreneur, and I did it first with a social network that actually Translated was not working. So in the meanwhile, to finance it, I did a social network that was sold to DoubleClick, a company that then was acquired by Google, and I was 22 at that time. Then I did another one. Translated started working, and I did another venture with Gianluca, my co-founder, also co-founder of PyCampus, that unfortunately cannot be here today. We did Memopal, a cloud storage company that did merge with another investment we had and did IPO last year in London. So this is basically the experiences that I've seen. And then I turned into investor 3 years ago. So I started seeing startups more and more and more. So before I was pitching and raising money for my own startups, and then I went to the other side. So the dark side. Please come back. And if it's not come, you know what it was? This is a signal that tells me that I spent too much time on that slide. So now it should be solved. So I raised early stage money with my companies. And in the last 3 years, I've been calculating this morning when I updated the slide. I think I saw about 1,500 pitches of startups for the last 3 years. And if you do the math of the business day, this is about 2 pitches per day. And I invested in 34 of those 1,500 pitches, and few were very successful. So I can correlate also what was the successful elements that I saw in pitches. But most importantly, I invested in a very small portion, but many times I was wrong. And in many, many cases, other investors invested in some of those 1,500 startups and actually did good, very, very good returns. So during the last 3 years, I've been learning what other investors are looking at in pitches. Now I'm trying to do my lesson learned and change my schema. So today, what I'm doing, I'm sharing with you the experience of those 3 days to what it looks like to be a good pitch. What I absolutely don't do, and so you should not ask me any advice on this topic, please avoid people that have just opinions, is raising larger rounds. So when you raise 10 million, 50 million, or 100 million for a startup, that's a completely different step than raising your seed round for 5 million, or 3 million, or 2 million. It's a completely different. What investors at those stages are looking for are completely different things. So I cannot give you any help on that. Also, actually, I've never worked in my life. I started, I'm a dropout in physics at university in my last year. And when I founded the social network, and then I found a translator, and then actually I never got a job, and I never done a resume in all my life. So how to scale a large corporation, how to survive in a large corporation, how to do all this stuff, I really don't know, and so I shouldn't give any advice to anyone about that. So I start from my motivations and motivation of the other investor I've seen. Do you prefer me to stay this side? I see a camera there. And basically, every people think that the goal of investor is make money, and that actually is the ultimate goal. But in order to get there, you have to go through a couple steps. Venture capital is a very long-term game. You create a venture fund that will see the returns in 10 years. And unfortunately, you cannot wait 10 years. Normally, what you do is start a venture fund, you raise money, you as an investor, because also, we raise money. And like you create a $50 million fund, and after 3 years, you have to show that you have done some results, raise a new fund, and then those investments will exit in the next years. You start working on the new fund, and you move forward. And the problem, so you will show the other investors that you made money only at the end of the first fund. That is too late, definitely too late. So you need something to show. And you realize very quickly that investors are motivated by 2 things: making returns, but also good stories. We absolutely need good stories in order to show that the things that we are doing are actually having an impact, and potentially they will have returns. And you raise your next fund by showing that, okay, I was able to get into that investment. It looks like it's going to be a good thing, but no, you have to, it's a nice story, so let's go. So to see the difference, on this quadrant here, there's no story, and lose money is a question mark. You know why? Because nobody remembers those companies. Because the investors, they don't want to talk about where they lose money. Nobody of us, no? And since it was not even an interesting story to tell, basically, they kind of disappear. And unfortunately, most startups are there because it's a very high competitive market. Yeah, it's a pyramid. So the other side, is company that has been incredibly profitable, but no one's know them. There is one company that, I picked that one because it's from the AI. This guy invented most of the things in machine translation, and many people here know him. But basically, he did secret stuff for so many years. And if you were an investor in that company in '94, today that company started with few million, and now is worth 70 billion, and nobody knows it. This is actually a company that he almost, I will say, invented quant trading, high frequency trading, and they did it by applying a technique of machine translation, to the finance. There was no way to make money out of translation at that time, and actually maybe even today, but applying those to finance was incredible. So nobody knew it. You know why we know now Renaissance? Some people know it. Because this guy became so rich that became the bad guy because he gave all his money to Donald Trump. He was the first donor of Donald Trump. That's how people started talking about this company. So if you do an investment like in a company like Renaissance, you're making a lot of returns, but you don't have a story to tell. And it took 20 years before people realized what Renaissance was doing. So no investor will raise another fund telling the story, oh, okay, I have this nice technology. Still works in the long term. That's the good thing. Investments you want to do definitely, but it's not the only thing that motivates you. So the obvious stuff, people that have got impact, consumer product that everybody uses every day. Doesn't matter who you talk to, they know what you're doing. And you did Google, Apple, YouTube. If you did those investments, even at the early stage, even before the IPO, they were having a tremendous impact. Everybody was using it. And even if nobody knew the value of it, of YouTube. YouTube was losing $50 million in cloud computing every year, and it was not making a penny. But everybody was using YouTube. And so it doesn't matter if it was even proven in the short term, but it was so strong in communication that you want to say, I was the investor in YouTube. That's what we look for. And actually, it became a very, very profitable company only 4 years after. In this quadrant here, there is other kind of story that actually are not that bad. Because even if they failed completely, as an investor, you showed that you were in the right market. Something could happen. And give an example, Napster. Everybody this completely lost everything. And it was shut down. I think someone bought back the brand and they're running a company with that brand now. But it was the first music sharing system, but doesn't matter. If you were an investor in Napster, you would have raised a lot of money and do other investments because you showed that you were able to identify big trends. Another important element, and this is where getting into the math of venture capital that you have to understand, is that every single company that you evaluate needs to have a potential of giving you back 30 times the money. And this is not because we're eager as investors. It's a simple math. If you look at startups, 9 out of 10 will fail, and only 1 will succeed. And if you have a venture fund that lasts 10 years, you want to do, if you have a venture fund of 1 million, you want to make 3 million at least. Because if you spread these across 10 years, actually it's not even a big percentage. I mean, less than 3 times in 10 years, it's probably better that you go and invest your money in bonds or stock, or maybe real estate, and buy us the next P7 villa. Because they will give you more money than actually doing venture capital. And so you need at least 30 times, because that company will make, actually from 1 million, will make the 3 million, and you will lose the money on all the others. So no company should pitch to an investor if it does not have the story telling that it will bring that returns. And that is actually the minimum level you should achieve. That's why venture capital does not invest in small stuff, like a pizzeria, unless it's planned to be McDonald's. So if you summarize all this stuff and you want to achieve this goal, these are the 5, actually 6 elements that you need to identify in a pitch. And we're talking about early stage investment. Nothing more than this is required. The first thing you have to do is to define the pain that you're trying to solve. You have to tell people how people are solving that problem today, and you have to tell how you are going to solve the problem in a different way, better way. You have to talk about your market, and you have to make sure that that market, I give you a number, should be at least a $1 billion market. Because if it's not at least 1 billion, You will never be able to create a company worth hundreds of millions to get the 30 times returns the investor wants. And you need it big because you will make mistakes. And you have to switch and position, and you will never be able to capture the entire market. So working on markets that are less than 1 billion really do not attract any kind of investor. Traction, which is probably the only thing that can go alone and win an investor very quickly, is basically how much you're growing. And how much you're growing is a strong indication of how much the problem is well defined and the quality of your solution. If the problem is well defined and perceived and your solution is great, you will have user that grows, you will have revenues if you're selling already something, or you will attract talent. So, and these are three elements of the traction. Doesn't mean that you have to make money. Can be users or can be great people. If you're able to attract great people into a project, is another strong indication that actually these things may work. Or YouTube, if you grow your user very quickly, that's a strong indication. Revenues, obviously, is the most obvious one and easy, but it's not required. And at the very end of your pitch, you should say why these people here are the best people in the world to solve this problem. And this comes a problem, again, because to show that you are the right guy to do that, you have the most experienced guy to solve that problem, you probably have to create a very narrow, very vertical problem that reflects your experience and team experience. And more you do it, and more the market decreases, so that you get below 1 billion, and then you come to the problem. And if this equation doesn't work, the first thing you have to do, please, is kill your idea and start with the next one. And that's, you need to get into interaction very quickly. And most of the companies I see failing in raising money from investors is because they don't want to cope with the problem of the equation. I mean, if you're not qualified to solve that problem, that is the big one and has got a nice market, I mean, you will not raise money. And if it's too small, the problem that you're able to solve, you will not raise money anyway. So the only thing that you have to do is face it and change it. And I don't understand why you were so happy to have this brilliant idea, and most of the people I know now, they're kind of afraid and they're worried that they would not be as creative in the future. And I don't know why. You should be optimistic in this. Your next idea will be probably better than the one previous because you have a little more experience. So please kill the ideas. I want to show some other things that get asked a lot by investors at early times. Financials, competitive analysis, revenue model, customer acquisition, exit strategies. And I can tell you why all of them, they make absolutely no sense. You shouldn't do it, even if I ask. So the first thing is the financials, and we're talking about early stage companies. I've never seen in my life, as an investor and entrepreneur, a business plan that was solid for more than 3 months after the inception of the company. Every estimation you do on the business side, the only estimation you can do is how much you will spend in salaries or in office rent, etc. Everything on the revenue side is always wrong. Cost is the only thing you can predict. And sometimes you also may make mistake in cost, but you can try to predict cost. So this is absolutely, completely useless. But it shows a little problem. If an investor is keeping asking you a financial planning, he's thinking that you don't have the finance skill to run the company. So what he's asking really is you to prove that you can do one. It's just an exercise. They're asking you to make the exercise of planning it. Nobody will actually use that, but you're showing that you can do it. So sometimes it's the easy way to convince the investor. You show you have the skills and you do it. Otherwise, I think that maybe you should maybe talk to another investor. The competitive analysis is very similar. As an investor, you have to decide in which company to invest. You have to understand the market. You can, it's our job as investors to understand the market. So I shouldn't be needing a great explanation of the competitive analysis. And when investors are asking competitive analysis at a very early stage, again, they mean something else. They mean, I don't really believe that you defined the problem very well or that your solution is unique for that problem. So they ask you what the others are doing. Okay? And if this happens, please think, and maybe you just change the point number 1 and 2, but not really the slide for the competition. The revenue model, again, same like financial. It changes all the time. Customer acquisition, again, same thing. Exit strategy. It's an early stage company. To me, every time I see a nice page on the exit strategy, I think that the entrepreneur is not committed. I mean, he's already thinking in where as to sell the company in a very evolving market where things will change in 10 different ways. So maybe these, so what I'm saying is that if you talk to a very qualified, high-profile investor, sometimes some of these may actually decrease the chances of raising money other than increase the chances. Unless you say, I did that for that reason, etc. So instead of doing a lot of theoretical stuff, Paki, will you give me an help? Yeah. And so Paki is one of our founders. He founded a company, Spot on Way, a digital loyalty, and even if we didn't make a good return, but I am again, he's still my friend, and we're doing here, we're doing more things together. So he's working on a new project now, and just to remember that this world is made of relation. You trust the people. The ideas, the projects, they go and live, but the team and the people are the one that will make it. So by that first experience, that actually was not bad at all. No, we merged with another company. It's probably be even successful, but it's not. We didn't make $1 billion out of that. And so he's trying maybe to make $1 billion with the next one, and so maybe we want. So like you do the review of the pitch, and we try together to help him to shape the pitch on that forum. So his normal pitch, I think, is not connected to those 6 points. So I will just put the slides and we remember. If you can try, and that's, I know it's a big effort, but if you can try to talk about the elements, and one by one, we can go together and see it. Like define the pain. What are you trying to solve, Paki?
Okay. I'm Paki, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Unveils. Unveils is the on-demand beauty service provider that allows every woman to book eye stylist, nail artist, makeup artist, and massage therapist to their door. Hotel, office, on the home. The market is very, very big. Only in Europe is a 200 billion euro market. But today, women don't have time to go to the salon, but they want consistent quality. And so, me and Alessandro, 8 months ago, together with L'Oréal Paris, created this project to allow every woman to get consistent quality beauty services to any time, anywhere, from 8 a.m. till late. Okay, and traction. We are growing very fast with our team. We are in the Milan market and Rome market with the 100 beauty experts. Okay, and only 10 of them are working every day, because we want to select our beauty professional in end. Okay, very selected with our partners that are L'Oréal professional ambassador. Okay, the team.
Why you're best people in the world to do that?
Because we are entrepreneurs, and L'Oréal is the leader of this market.
Okay, now of these points, now you can see which one was the point that less was convincing for you on his pitch. So did it define the problem? well enough? You talk about the solution, you understand why the solution was unique, or the market, the traction, or the team? Someone that can say, no, what is the weakest part that we should work on? Traction and team. Okay, so traction, what he did, he said, why we are the best people in the world to do it? And what you were expecting is that he was saying, look, I'm a woman, so I know exactly this problem. I've been using myself this, I don't want to, so I do understand it. Or maybe, and this could be one, so even without skills, you could communicate something that works, unfortunately, not for you, that. Or maybe because you say, no, I've been working at L'Oreal for 10 years. And so from the product perspective, I understand this. Or maybe because you say, no, I've been creating this kind of services offline for a long time. And so I want to bring the experience online. So the reason why it was weak is because actually, no, Paki has no qualification to do it. But he still can convince you by saying, I'm a serial entrepreneur, I've done this successful, and now I'm going to do this. And actually, he has the background to say this. So he could change that. So there is always one way that you can pitch your team in a way that could convince the investor. So it's only an illusion that there is the perfect person for that skills. In his case, you should have used your background experience that you had as an entrepreneur 3 times already.
No.
So
5 times.
5 times. And actually, L'Oreal is not part of the loop. L'Oreal is not you, so it's not part of the team and was just distracting the investor. So team was one and the other was traction, right?
Traction.
Okay. He avoided talking about the grow because in fact, we are in early stage. In terms of revenue, I think that the growth, the numbers in sales is pretty small, maybe few, like $5,000 a month of the service. But when you do that, in order to build the revenue, you have to build the network of beauty professionals. And actually what he did, from 0, you went to how many beauty professionals?
100.
100.
In Rome and Milan.
Rome and Milan. So in only a few months, he could say, look, we went from 0, from 150 beauty professionals in 2 cities in just 3 months. This is a form of traction because the fact that beauty professionals are jumping on board, it means that the product makes sense, okay? And they are expert on those fields.
Yeah.
So
How can ensure the quality of this profession?
the quality?
Quality of the profession. The staff.
That's a good point. Maybe we should add an adjective or something to say, like the top tier or the best beauty professional in those cities, 150 of them, joined the team. And maybe you have, you say something to show, to prove that what you just said is true, okay? And this, your point is absolutely correct. You have to show the quality of the traction, definitely. Now, but these are exactly quality and the amount is the element. So traction team, is there anything else that?
How you really solve the problem in a practical way.
In fact, in order, I think that the first 2 we mentioned was the most important that we need to fix here. The other one is true, how we solve the problem. You know why he was not able to communicate you that? Because probably he didn't define the pain well enough.
Don't have time. They don't have time. The women, they don't have time to go to the salon, okay? But they want consistent quality and not beauty professionals that are low profile, okay? And so we solved this because L'Oreal give to us the best professional that they have in their salon, okay? So we solved this because best salon in Rome and Milan go directly to your door.
And you went not too long, and please, question.
Yes, I'm from California and I use services like this in Los Angeles, but they're much more expensive to have somebody come to your home. So how do you hit it with the general market? Does it cost more than going to the salon?
Go.
Because sometimes I just go to the salon because I don't want to pay $300 or pay $100, you know?
Perfect.
How do
So
you solve
so
that?
basically, it's exactly this. Now we're talking about how to pitch to investors. So how do we represent that pain? Because the pain is that if you are in California and those kind of line services are already there, and you want to create the next one, then you say, look, this is what's happening. Many people are using it, but it's too expensive. So we did that to solve the problem. So you identify one pain and you solve that pain. You don't need many. In these cases where he is a first comer, an early adopter, how many minutes, Emily? Over. And so, just answer the question. You just have to say, what is the problem perceived by the people that don't have the service? And the problem is, today, people are busy, they don't have time, they cannot drive the car for 1 hour to go to the place, to the saloon, go back, and losing 3 hours of their time for this. So, of those 2 hours of transport, we bring it 0. It costs more, but we give you the time. So the important is to identify a pain, and then show the solution of the pain. Thank you so much, Paki.
Thank you.